everyone. This is John Marshall, the DrillMaster. Welcome to another episode of Video Critiques. This is brought to you by my website, Education for the Military Drill World, as it says. But if you go to specifically resources, and it will come up, I promise. There we go. If you go here and scroll down a bit, you will see all kinds of stuff under these headings. They drop down menus here, and now you have all kinds of different things to download. Stuff for first responders and stuff for, here's routine mapping tools. I created these several years ago, and these downloads have been, I have a site that tracks the downloads, and it's been thousands and thousands of times that they've been downloaded. And I'm so glad that I want people to use the tools that they feel that that can help them. All right, so Cabot High School. This is the Unarmed exhibition performance from 2019, April 2019. So we're going to see, and I've actually I judged or adjudicated, critique, the performance just about 2 weeks ago or so. So let's see here what we have. All right. So let's look at those. Let's look at those arms there. Look at the arms. Look at this, and of course this is 2019. But this is, we can take any video and learn from it. It doesn't matter the date. So look at his arms. Look how his hands are away from his body, and he's bringing his elbows forward. But then look at everybody else. Everybody else is completely different from him, it looks like. Maybe, no, I don't think so. I think he's the only one that looks that has that different look about him. So I've talked about variation of technique before. This is the vertical variation of technique that we don't want. So everybody's technique needs to be the same here. And most likely the commander is down here. Now, commanders, remember for exhibition drill that you can look exactly like the team and still call commands. You don't have to be at attention. You don't have to be at any specific position. You can do things and blend yourself into the team, still calling commands, which is going to really, it's going to be even that much more better in communicating to your audience as you blend in with the team. Now, the Air Force Manual specifically states, and this goes for color guard, and this goes also for flag raising detail, and then also for military parade, you know, the pass and review, the command staffs. The commander of each of those entities, each of those small formations, is not supposed to go to attention and call the rest of the team to attention. So for a color guard, you're not supposed to, when you call parade rest, everybody goes to parade rest. When you go back to attention, when you're calling back to attention, the commander's not supposed to go back to attention to call the commands. If you read in there, it's at the very beginning of the Air Force Manual, you'll see that that the commander can remain at parade rest. Arm swing is quite different from cadet to cadet. So basically the same routine so far, anyway, that I was critiquing just a couple of weeks ago from a 2020 performance. That sidestep, it's just... I understand that you want to be centered, but it just doesn't come across as being exact enough. It doesn't come across as powerful enough. Yeah, so far same routine, and that's fine. And I appreciate the pass through. I think that is that's quite good. And moving out of the way definitely wasn't the good thing. Now the double stomp there, I don't get. Because you had the facing, you were rippling anyway, and the speeding up. I'm probably going to be repeating myself. The speeding up of the mark time. That didn't work as planned, most likely, with people stopping at different times, with their feet pretty much everywhere. And I really appreciate that rear march and then picking up the two lines. That is just great. That really works well. And so does that, again, to rear march into the line. Spacing's not bad here. Not bad at all. But this increased speed of the mark time really, it works, but the slow progression of the line backwards isn't as effective as if you were taking a true half step. It looks like you're taking maybe a 6-inch half step, so it's taking quite a long time. I wonder if there was a spacing, or so you're increasing your spacing. The arms didn't seem to work all that well there, and we have some different things going on at different times. It almost looked like the ripple of the arms there skipped one, went back, and then continued on. So this is just really a matter of practice. So the team relies heavily on the ripple effect. You've rippled into several formations. I always appreciated that different about face. And it's slow progression here. It really should be a nice fast ripple. But relying heavily on the ripple, especially with small moves, and you're so far away from your audience is where your head judges. With the smaller moves, it's just not as effective. Yeah, quite a bit of ripples there. The arm swing is okay. If, you know, I see that's what you want to do. It just really didn't work all that well. It didn't. Everything that you've done so far has really had a good military flavor, and then that sorry for the word, it's goofy. The goofy arm swing there just really didn't maintain. You know, you've maintained a very military type flavor here to the whole routine, which is what you're supposed to do. This is exhibition drill, military exhibition drill. But then having that arm swing there. Commander, are you slapping your foot because you're trying to keep everybody in line? Because that different step technique doesn't, or maybe that's not the commander. The different step technique really doesn't communicate well. It's a variation, you know, this vertical variation, but it's a horizontal variation too. Feet didn't work all that well on that pass through. Well, I've had so much to say, and yet, and I'm trying not to pause. And here it's just all, it's a ripple, and yet it's very messy. You're communicating. Oh, good. I appreciate that. That was really nice. Good technique. Now, are the knees supposed to be on the ground, or are they not? It looked like we had a couple knees there, but some weren't. I don't know exactly because I can't really see. Okay. All right. Oh, for goodness sakes. Let's go back here. So, the ripple effects that that the team relies, as I was saying, heavily on, those ripples, it can get, and let's pause that. It can get, this is that single line that you made, which is, you know, half of the 4 or maybe even 6 wedges you made. Yeah, the first wedge, second, then you backed it up. Okay, so 3 wedges, and then half a wedge. But the point is that every one of those moves, while similar, they were even more similar, having that ripple effect going on all the time. You marched into each of the movements in a ripple. Then you had ripple movement within the formation. So this half-line formation, excuse me, you got there in a ripple, and now you are rippling back and forth, facing away from your audience, I might add. So, and I understand, you know, an about face or something that, or a position that takes you from facing your audience, but you lined up here and did most of your movement facing away from your audience. So your orientation isn't taking into account that your audience is behind you, because you face away from them. Even if it's just the head judge, you still face away from them almost the whole time in this line. So is this as effective as you want, or can there be an improvement by facing the audience, and not only facing the audience but being closer to them? Almost your whole routine is at the back of the field. If we look here, this cone, I'm going to assume, because I'm pretty sure the team was marching along this line of cones, but this cone represents the back line. So you're back at the back part of the field here, the exhibition drill field, almost the whole time until you start to march up. You're only there for a few seconds for the report out, and again you go into another wedge. So that's 4 wedges and a half wedge, and then you depart. Now the wedge is a very effective tool for reporting in and reporting out. The reverse wedge is also effective for reporting in and reporting out. Hey, the Air Force Honor Guard drill team does that, and also the Army The Army drill team does that as well. So wedges are good. Wedges are effective. If they weren't effective, they wouldn't be used. So, but you have to understand their application at a certain time, and you might not want to report in and report out using the same formation with that wedge pointing towards the judge. You could reverse the wedge with the wedge pointing away from the judge like this, and then have the commander center here, and then the judge up here. Are you able to see? Yeah, you are. Okay. So the wedge, the commander, everybody's facing like this. Everybody's facing this way. So a reverse wedge is just as effective, or at least it can be. So, and I also think that the team might want to consider I'll put the link in my down below in the comments. Go to my website and look at the article how to write exhibition drill, and I go over the boxes of 3 method. It's a term I coined. The boxes of 3 method is taking each of the ranks and having them march a box of 3 steps with a pivot. So really, some people count count everything as 4 steps, but I count 3 steps and a pivot. So then it's taking all of the elements and marching them around in a box. But it might not be how you're thinking. Just doing something quote unquote boring. And it's the variation of the having the boxes accomplished. It really works well. So if you have, just for instance, if you have 4 ranks, and I know my illustrations here are fantastic, I understand. So this is the 1st rank, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rank. So the 1st and the 3rd rank would be number 1s, and then the 2nd and 4th rank would be number 2s. So 1s first go to the left, and 2s first go to the right. So you have this effect of separating, moving back, coming back together, and then they're finished. So and it's the same principle for elements. The elements would do the same thing and pass through each other. So it really works well, and it can be such a fantastic tool to use instead of trying to create constant formations in which to do ripples. Ripples are fine. Rippling into formations are fine, but it tends to get a little bit old after a while. And what I mean by getting a little old is it's not as effective. So halfway through the performance, a judge may look at it and go, oh, and another ripple, and yet another ripple, and another ripple into a formation for more ripples. And so you want to make sure that your audience is keenly aware of a difference about your team. And at the end of the day, when the judge is considering all of the teams, going through each team in his or her mind, you don't want them to go, oh yeah, that team with all those ripples, I remember them. So you can either stick out for something not as good, or you can stick out for something that was really effective, really different from all the other teams that marched that day. And that's how you want to stick in a judge's mind. I've judged plenty of competitions to where I can only remember a huge group of teams that did the same thing all day long, and then there's 1 or 2 that stick out in a negative way, and then maybe 1 or 2, possibly 3 that stick out in a positive way. So when we're judging, most of the teams fall within a big section in the middle. Very few at the top, and then very few at the bottom. So you want to, if you're in the middle, and there's no problem with being in the middle, especially if you're a growing team, when you're in the middle, you definitely want something that's different, something that is very unique to your team. All right, Cabot High School Unarmed exhibition, first place. That's awesome, by the way. I'm glad of that. I hope my comments have been helpful.